We are now recording. All right. Welcome everybody to the next short observation and data analysis webinar, also known as SODA, as part of the NASA Globe ENSO Student Research Campaign's Phase 3 entitled Water in Our Environment. So what we're going to have today is we're going to have an awesome presentation from the wonderful students at David Wooster Middle School in Stratford, Connecticut. And they will be presenting on their data collection via Globe protocols, aligning to all the guiding investigative questions of the campaign. Their title of their presentation is, Does Data Drive Questions or Do Questions Drive Data? A Curious Case of the Chicken and the Egg. So super interested in hearing more about this. It's a great title. We've had lots of people say, hey, we might not be able to be there live, but we definitely want to see it because that title intrigues us. So we're going to have lots of people who are going to view that. So little intro quickly. My name is Brian Campbell, and I am the lead for the Globe ENSO Student Research Campaign, and I'm based at the NASA Wallops Flight Facility in Wallops Island, Virginia, and I focus on earth science education, communication, and public outreach. So I work with a lot of different satellite missions. I work with the Globe program. So this is part of what I do with the ENSO campaign, and this is going to be a super webinar. We have on board here teacher Christopher Newland and his student presenters, and I'm going to pronounce probably half of these wrong, but Lilia Mellon, Leon Nguyen, Natalie Melo, Lucas Jenkins, Anna Flockhart, and Andrew Carmody. Close enough, I hope. So quickly, let me do here. So for those of you online, not sure where Stratford, Connecticut is, there's Connecticut, and there's a big red star there. I couldn't make it too small, but it's right in that location, close to that location in Connecticut. So so people know where exactly they are, since we're going to have a global group of teachers and educators and citizen scientists that will view this, and a lot of them will be from countries other than the United States. So that's why I prepared this, so they know exactly, where the research is coming from and where the students are presenting from today. So quickly, as part of the ENSO Phase 3 Active Globe Country, part of this campaign, I created this map. These are all the countries that will most likely view the presentation, the campaign webinar today. So as you can see, the ENSO campaign has active countries all over the world, and these are the countries that are taking measurements and presenting and collaborating and communicating with each other. So so there's a lot of countries, all over the planet who are really interested in what you're doing. And I always like to say, presentations like this really emphasize just how important local measurements are to understanding a local environment, which then in turn can be used to understand the larger picture of how our planet's responding to change. You may think, oh, I'm taking measurements in a pond outside of my school, big deal. But there are other countries that may have ponds outside their school. They may be taking the same measurements. They may be getting the same data. They may be getting totally different data. And it's really cool to collaborate to try to figure out, how you can use this data from each of the schools or locations in tandem to try to understand what's going on and how our planet's responding to environmental change and all these things. So
they said it's AT&T problem because AT&T
I
has
have
to
to
codes.
I have to meet somebody here.
I go personally to AT&T and I tell them down there, like, no, look in here. We send them.
All right, there we go. So sorry about that. I do mute a couple people there. So before we get started with this presentation, no, actually, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this at the end. So I'm going to escape and get out of here. Going to stop my share. Sorry, my everything's open here on my desktop. I have to do some closings of things. All right. Stop sharing. There we go. Sorry about that. Had to close a couple things. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the students from David Wooster Middle School in Stratford, Connecticut, and I will pass it over to you, Mr. Newland, and we will go from there. And looking forward to the presentation. So what's going to happen afterwards is there's some people, you know, who want to ask, maybe want to ask questions, and you know, our goal is to ultimately, you know, have you guys and collaborate with other folks from the Globe campaign. So, you know, who may be interested in this. And this may not happen just today, but they might see your presentation, be like, hey, I need to get in contact with them so we can do some presentation. I know the school year is kind of ending, but there's always, you know, the fall as well. So, all right, I will pass it over to you.
All right, thank you, Brian. I'm going to get a minute here to see, make sure I can share the screen so I have the slides these guys need. And that should do that, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, looks good.
Perfect. So first of all, thank you for the introductions of myself and my students in our school. I do want to note we have two extras that are on our first slide here that weren't on the other slide that volunteered to come in and be a part of this, Tyler Tripodi and Izzy Takanya. And we have an alumnus from our original Globe group from 5 years ago, who is also gonna add in a little bit at some point in here. But thank you all for attending. This is the first time that any students from Wooster or myself have actually presented at a Globe webinar, so we're really excited to be here today. This has been kind of a special year for me personally with these guys, and I'm looking forward to it continuing. Having a chance, they're an amazing group of kids. I actually don't want to really let them graduate, but I haven't figured out how to keep them here because they all definitely deserve to go on. When our Globe program started, 4 or 5 years ago, we were part of the Learning to Research program, and actually Bob from Mayo Pack from last week and a few others who have presented and attended these webinars have been a part of that. But several of these guys had their siblings as a part of that original program, and I was looking at my class list this year going, wait a minute, we have like a mirror image group 4 years away, which is really cool. So I'm really happy that we're all here with you guys. When we saw the title too of this year's focus about water in our environment, it just speaks to me. My background is in the marine and aquatic sciences, and with our community's connection to water, which our kids will talk about later, it was just the perfect time to reinvigorate the Globe program here. So, and I can't remember our title of our presentation, does data drive questions or do questions drive data? In the curious case of the chicken or the egg, sort of comes from a motto that I think I got from Globe a long time ago, which was don't just read about science, do science. And when I put this out here to my different classes, there's see if there was any students who wanted to join a worldwide community of students, teachers, and scientists collaborating about water and the environment. This great group of kids emerged and have been working on that idea ever since. And the interesting thing was we didn't have a specific research focus or question when we first started. We had the giant questions, 3 questions that you posted, and our kids are going to talk about how we sort of went from let's go out and do some science, collect some information, and start to see what it looks like. And all of a sudden, the questions came from the data and that we collected through the different ENSO protocols. So it's been a super exciting year for us. And I should also mention that these guys are sort of presenting pretty much on our after school group, and the ones that have done the working with the ENSO campaign. We also have had a group also on the surface temperature field campaign, but they're not actually with us today. So you guys did not come here to hear me though. You came here to hear our students. So I'm going to introduce you to Natalie Mello and Lucas Jenkins, who are going to start this off.
Hello, I am Natalie Mello. I'm 14 years old and I'm an 8th grade student here at David Wooster Middle School. I have been a part of GLOBE since December. This year I won the Youth at its Best volunteering essay for my volunteer work today in the Stratford community. I volunteer by helping out in the library with special activities, and I help out children with doing their homework.
And hello, my name is Lucas Jenkins. I'm an 8th grader here at David Wooster Middle School. I've been in GLOBE almost since the beginning, and I have recently been accepted to Fairchild Wheeler Inter-District Magnet High School.
Hey.
There are three separate schools, and there's one for engineering, one for technology, one for zoology. I was accepted to the one for engineering.
About our school, located in Stratford, Connecticut, David Wooster Middle School is one out of 2 middle schools in Stratford. The total amount of students in our school is roughly 550. Our school is divided into teams. For 7th grade, there are the 7th grade Lions, Panthers, and Cougars. And for the 8th grade teams, there are the Pumas, Jaguars, and 8th grade Lions. Our school mascot is also the Wildcats, and we are part of the Puma team. Our school motto is pride, positivity, respect, integrity, determination, and empathy.
So Connecticut is part of the United States. We're located in the New England region on the East Coast. All of our testing is done on the pond that is viewed back in David Wooster Middle School in Stratford, Connecticut. The state of Connecticut is surrounded by 3 states, New York, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. South of Connecticut is Long Island Sound. Now, as I said just a second ago, north of us is Massachusetts, which is 153 miles away from our current location, and New York is 64 miles away. Stratford is a community connected by water. To the east of town is the Housatonic River. It starts in Massachusetts, stretches across the entire eastern border before emptying into Long Island Sound, which is south of Connecticut and north of New York, and to the west is Bridgeport.
Stratford, Connecticut was founded in 1639 and is now 379 years old. Stratford is the easternmost town in Fairfield County, next to Shelton up north, Bridgeport to the west, and Trumbull northwest of town. The population of Stratford is currently 52,112 residents living in Stratford. We have 2 high schools, 2 middle schools, and 10 elementary schools. We have 2 beaches, Short Beach and Long Beach. Weather, the average annual temperature in the summer is 78 degrees. In the winter, the average is 43 degrees, and in the spring, it's 56 degrees. The average rainfall is 48 inches, and the average snowfall is 32 inches. Summers in Stratford are warm and humid. Winters are very cold and windy, and Stratford is partly cloudy year-round. Stratford also passes through all the 4 seasons.
The climate in our area of Stratford is very temperate or mild. This means that Stratford is a place where there is never extremely hot or extremely cold temperatures.
We will now pass it on to Leon. We'll be talking more. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Leon Nguyen. I'm 13 years old and I'm an 8th grade student at David Wooster Middle School. I'm a National Junior Honor Society student. I enjoy playing piano and painting with watercolors in my spare time. I joined GLOBE halfway through the year because I wanted to learn more about other sciences. For now, I'll be handing it over to our GLOBE alumni who will be discussing how GLOBE originated at David Wooster Middle School.
Hi, my name is Will Jenkins, and I am one of the first members of GLOBE at Wooster Middle School. Currently, I am a junior in high school who is at the Aerospace, Hydrospace, and Physical Sciences School at Fairchild Wheeler campus in Bridgeport, Connecticut. As one of the first people in GLOBE, we didn't do nearly as much as these guys did. We did weekly tests of the water. We experimented on mosquitoes. We tracked the weather data in our town. We just got a deeper understanding of science and the world around us as we knew it. And from this program, 2 of us went on to technical school or a science high school. And it was instrumental in our decision to do that. When we first started off this club, there were maybe 6 or 7 of us. And now this club has grown to be these wonderful students who have gone on to do so much more than we could have ever thought this club would have done. Mr. Newland guided us through all of that, and we couldn't be here without him today. And I'd like to personally thank him for that and thank the Globe organization for giving us this opportunity. Thank you. I'll be handing it back to Leon.
Thank you. When was Globe introduced to us? I believe it all started when Mr. Newland introduced Globe to our class in November 2017. He explained what Globe was, what they do, and what their ambitions were. Globe was available to us as an extracurricular after-school activity. This piqued the interest of some people, and 5 people showed up at the first meeting. As the year progressed, more and more people who had an interest in science joined Globe to expand their knowledge and broaden their horizons. Currently, we have about 12 people in Globe. As you may know, at Globe, there's the El Niño Southern Oscillation, or ENSO student research campaign, which includes multiple phases. At Wooster, former Globe members were involved in phase 1 of this research campaign. However, we did not participate in phase 2. As of now, we rejoined the campaign to participate in phase 3 of the ENSO student research campaign, Water in Our Environment. In this phase, there were 3 guiding investigative questions focusing on an individual aspect. Water quality. What is the quality of the water in our environment? Water's impact. What impact does water, both above and below ground, have on an environment? Water in life. How does water in our environment impact living organisms? We decided our investigative question was, how does water in our environment impact living organisms, which focused on the aspect of water in life. Although the other 2 questions were interesting, we chose this question because of how the other questions intertwine with this one, since water quality and its impact affect aquatic life altogether. This is also because we have a pond at Wooster, which has a variety of different species that reside there as their habitat. Most of us had wanted to interact with living organisms. However, despite choosing this, it has proven to be challenging, since there was a long block of time when the pond was frozen, and we could not gather samples. In fact, this week was the only time we collected living organisms since then. While collecting data, we used the following protocols: air temperature, nitrates, soil moisture, pH, surface water temperature, transparency, and conductivity. Please know that we may not have executed all the protocols, but we did take the time to learn about them. Actually, this week, we tried the protocol for freshwater macroinvertebrates for the first time, and it went relatively well, although we do not have data prepared to show from this particular protocol at this point. Other protocols we will be implementing this spring, as I mentioned, freshwater microinvertebrates, relative humidity, mosquito larvae, and dissolved oxygen. When we collected data, we did not have research questions in mind. In fact, we did not formulate our questions until after collecting data. This is where the chicken or the egg concept comes into play. Our questions came from the data we collected with those protocols. Some of our questions are: do seasons affect the pond? How do seasonal temperatures affect the pond? How does rainfall pH affect the pH of the pond? How does rainfall affect soil and or air temperature? How does air temperature affect soil moisture? How does pond temperature affect wildlife? Is the turbidity of the pond affected by different water sources? How does snowfall affect soil temperature? Does soil moisture differ from place to place? Is rainfall, air, and soil temperature consistent in all parts of Stratford? And how do humans affect the water in their environment? We know that we aren't able to answer them all, but perhaps future Globe members will. Other student presenters, namely Lilia and Andrew, will elaborate on some of these questions later. And now I will hand it off to Tyler, who will tell you about how we conduct our research.
So, hello, I am Tyler Tripodi. I'm an 8th grader here at Wooster Middle School. I'm 14 years old. I'm from the Pumas team. I actually just played a leading role in our school play, Bye Bye Birdie, this past weekend. And science is a really big part of my life since I've been accepted to the Bridgeport Regional Aquaculture Center. I'm also not new to Globe since my older sister was one of the founders of our Globe program here at Wooster. So I'll get right into it. So our study sites are the inlet stream, which you can see at the top of the picture on the screen. That's the inlet. You know what, actually, I'll grab the laser pointer down here. So we've got the inlet stream, which is right here. This is in the order of how we test them. So we go from the inlet stream to, and I know it says pipe 1 and pipe 2 here, but we don't test those pipes. Those are just pipes that flood into the inlet stream. So just imagine pipe 3 and pipe 4 or pipe 1 and 2. So we go from the inlet stream to pipe 2 or the intermittent pipe. And then from the intermittent pipe, we go to the storm drain, or pipe 1. From there, we go to the Wooster Pond site, which is a little rock formation that kind of juts out into the pond, and that's where we test from, and then to the outlet stream. So these are some pictures of our study sites. I'll go in the order we test them. So the inlet stream, as you see right here, is got a lot of trees around it, and it's kind of wooded. Actually, if you follow the inlet stream all the way up, it leads you to Bunnell High School, one of the 2 high schools in our town. From there, we go to pipe 2, or the intermittent pipe. You can't see it in this picture, but pipe 2 is actually above the surface level of the water, which contrasts from pipe 1, which is below the surface level. Now, both of these pipes dump into the pond, not the inlet stream, as you can see right here. You go into the pond. At the pond itself, as I said before, it's a little rock formation, and you can see 3 of our Globe students measuring data from off that middle rock right there. At the outlet stream, we have a low head dam, which all the water from the pond flows over. At the outlet stream, notice a lot of trash buildup and some oil sheet. So beginning in November 2017, our data was taken weekly from 4 locations at Wooster Pond. The locations are the inlet stream, located at the north side of the pond, the outlet stream, located at the south side of the pond, and the east shore of the pond, and the storm drain. Now, the intermittent pipe was added later in the year. Atmospheric data is also taken at the weather station located in front of the school, which is about 300 meters away from the pond to the north. We take the samples about once a week from each site, and data is collected at the pond on Thursdays and the weather station on Wednesdays, and rainfall measurements are made as often as we possibly can. If you see any missing or absent data points, those are due to technical difficulties, including broken equipment, frozen pond, and lack of time. So at Wooster, when we started our Globe program this year, we didn't really start with a hypothesis. We just started as a group of students just wanting to do science. I was actually one of the people here who were here at the first meeting. We like to call ourselves the Core 4, as you'll hear from other students later on. But we then took our love for science and the Globe sites created by past groups, and we just went from there. Slowly but surely, these questions started to come from our research until we were left with the question below, which became our hypothesis. Our hypothesis is that the storm drain, or pipe 1, affects the pond because the water pipe has more nitrates. The water in pipe 1 has more nitrates than anywhere else in the pond. So some of the protocols we use they're the same in the inlet stream, the pond, the outlet stream, and pipe 1 and 2. We do pH, conductivity, temperature, nitrates, and transparency. So the pH meters are calibrating using a 2-point calibration, 4, 7, and 11. Actually, none of us in Globe knew that this had to happen until we joined Globe, so that was kind of cool. The conductivity meter is also calibrated using a 2-point calibration system, and the temperature probes we use are calibrated using ice water, 0 degrees Celsius, and boiling water, 100 degrees Celsius. I'll now be turning you guys over to Lilia and Andrew, who will be discussing data findings. Thank you.
Hi, I am Amelia Mellon.
And I am Andrew Carmody.
So I really like to read, and actually the reason I joined Globe was because my friend Anna was paying attention in class at that point and thought that Globe sounded cool. So I came along with her, and I have never regretted it. I am actually one of the Core 4, as Tyler mentioned, the first 4 people who came to the Globe meeting, and I'm known as the keeper of the notebook, where we write everything.
And as I said before, I am Andrew Carmody. I am also part of the Core 4, and school is an important part of my life, who I am and what I do.
You can see this in the after-school activities that I take part in, including National Junior Honor Society, the jazz band, track, cross-country, and of course, Globe. Me and my family are pretty tight, and we like to rollerblade and do sports.
So here are the, sorry, we have a weather instrument shelter in front of our school, which we often call the weather box. And we take measurements from it weekly, every Wednesday, and we measure air and soil temperatures, minimum and maximum, as well as rainfall.
Here we have air temperature, minimum and maximum, shown in two graphs. One, as you can see here, is fall going into winter. They slope down as winter approaches. And then over here, winter back into spring, sloping up. As you will see in the next couple of graphs, the minimum and maximum air temperatures are more spread apart than the soil temperatures are. And in the fall, the highest point we have is 24 degrees Celsius, and the lowest point we have is a little less than 1 degree Celsius. And for air temperature, minimum and maximum for winter and into spring, the highest point we have is 22 degrees Celsius, and the lowest we have is negative 25 degrees Celsius.
Here we have our soil temperature minimum and maximum. And so, as you can tell, we have a couple of gaps from when we forgot to take the temperature. As you can see, there's the same pattern as Andrew addressed in his slides, where it goes down into winter and comes up again through spring. And the variations between the highs and the lows are a lot less. So it might just be a couple of degrees instead of like 30 degrees.
And we will also be discussing data findings from the pond. We found that most of the data we collected were relatively similar in groups or patterns, except for nitrates, as you will see soon. A lot of the nitrates we found came from the storm drain. When we took these samples, they were relatively higher, as you will see on the next graphs in a couple of slides.
So here we have surface water temperature. And as you can see, the temperatures from the inlet stream, pond, and outlet stream are all fairly similar, all of them actually. So the inlet stream, pipe, pond, outlet stream, and pipe 2 are all fairly similar. They follow the same pattern of dipping down through winter and coming up again through the spring. You may notice this one outlier from the pond. That was actually taken on the first full sunny day this year, and we were wondering whether this trend would continue.
We also take surface pH, and here you can also see a trend, all of the points being between a pH of 4 and a little more than 7.
Wait, no, don't hit that, don't hit that.
Okay. All sort of grouped the same, except for the one outlier, and this, we're not sure what this dot is, but that's better. Okay. Sorry, there's something, the difficulty with the computer, but
Can you share your screen again? Because it disappeared. I kind of, it disappeared off my screen. I don't know if anybody else.
We're getting a message here that says the host disabled participant screen sharing.
No, huh, strange. Okay, hold on, let me find out what happened there. Okay, go ahead. I don't know, it was a little glitch. Now try it.
Yeah, I got it back now.
That's strange. Who knows? It's technology. What can you do?
Yeah.
That's because it's been an absolutely perfect webinar. These
Right.
kids are absolutely phenomenal. So
Yeah.
something had to happen.
Yeah. There you go. Thank you.
Got the surface pH now?
Yeah, it's good. Thank you.
Here we have transparency, which is another thing we measure. Most of the water is pretty clear, which we demonstrated using the 0.0. And but on occasion it does come up and the water becomes more cloudy. We actually had rain data that we contrasted this with, and most of the spikes happened after major rain showers. So we're assuming that with the rain, it washes more dirt and other particles into the water. We haven't tracked transparency before, during, and after rainfall, but we think that would be quite interesting to see how long it takes to get back to normal. The clarity could also be caused because we're just out of winter now, and we're starting to see algae grow on the ponds, and that might also affect the transparency.
And here we have conductivity. And this, again, most conductivity points are around 300. But what's interesting is that here we have a spike, as shown in this black circle. And we compared that with a chart that we had of precipitation amounts. And we found that this spike was right after a major snowstorm. So we were thinking that maybe like the snow had to do something with the pH, or maybe like the salt they spit on the roads, that could have washed down through the storm drain and come into the pond. So that's what we're also wondering.
Here we have the nitrates, which is where we saw the most significant difference between the pipes and the rest of the sites. So the inlet stream, ponds, and outlet stream are all between 1 and 10 parts per million. But once you get to the 2 pipes, which are here shown in red, they get significantly higher. This one data point that shows 40 parts per million, we're a little skeptical of that point, but even without it, we're quite a bit higher than the rest.
And our new research question. After seeing that the nitrates in the pipe were significantly greater than any of the other sites, we thought up a new research question. And it was, how do different water sources affect the pond? And if they do, how did this affect the many habitats that different animals live in? We began to wonder about these effects of the increasing nitrates that were coming through the storm drains and effects on the different habitats. This became our new research question.
So we're working to finish uploading our data to the Globe website. In the meantime, if you would like to collaborate, we can share all of it through a link to our Google Sheets.
And now we'll be giving off the slide, looking to the future for Anna and Isabel.
Again, staff members, this is Mr. Darcy. Another announcement about the coffee in the building. As I stated a little while ago, if you're here to help out for teen night, by all means, please come get a cup of coffee to fuel you through the evening. If you are not here to help out at teen night, then you could still come by and get some, but not a full cup. Okay, thank you.
Can you send me a cup of coffee? I could use one right now. That's awesome. Hey, that's the school. So yeah, okay. Sorry, continue.
Sorry about that.
It's all good.
Okay. And now introducing Anna and Izzy.
Just see that cup is half full, not half empty.
Okay. Anna is obsessed with cats. In her free time, she reads and talks to them. In the future, she plans to become a forensic scientist. Izzy enjoys performing and being with her friends. In her free time, she does something beauty-related or plays computer games. Okay, so I joined Globe because it looked fun and I really wanted to help the environment. And I joined Globe because Tyler and Lucas were just like telling me all day to join. And then I did, but I ended up really liking it. Just start. Oh. Okay. So now we're going to be explaining what we plan to do in the future. So, over the next couple of years, we plan to get the elementary schools to help. And we can do this by putting weather stations in front of all the schools so they can collect data too. We also plan to get a new schedule at our school so we can collect samples during school hours. Also, next year we plan to enter at least one research project in the Student Research Symposium and/or the Virtual International Science Symposium. And last but not least, we hope to have fun.
Okay. Shoemate Middle School was one of the first webinars we watched. They inspired us to get more kids and teachers involved. We wrote a grant to the Stratford Best Committee to build weather instrument shelters for 4 elementary schools whose students later come here. Those elementary schools are Nichols, Lordship, Wilcoxon, and Stratford Academy. We're turning these elementary schools into our minions so they can collect data to support our research questions. So they are prepared and know how to do it when they get to middle school.
Boy, Whaley.
We increase the amount of teachers involved, and we have more kids doing science instead of just reading. Oops. Okay. And this is a map of where the elementary schools are located. The elementary schools go from south and north of Stratford, with Wooster right above them, or north of them. So over April break, we came into school and we started building the weather shelters, and we're putting them outside of the elementary schools in May.
Okay, so here are some questions we plan to work on together with the elementary schools. So our first question is, does Stratford have its own microclimates? And that's a fancy way of saying, is the weather the same everywhere in town? Our second question is, how does rainfall change as we move farther away from Long Island Sound? And our third question is rainfall, air temperature, and soil temperature the same in all of Stratford, or is it different? Okay, so we were inspired by Mahopac High School and all they've done to reduce nitrogen in their pond and river. We hope to take some of their ideas and implement them in the future. It's really important to have low nitrate levels because when nitrates go into the pond, algae starts to grow. And after a while, the algae dies and is decomposed by bacteria. And this depletes oxygen, and low oxygen limits wildlife. So now I'm going to explain our new schedule. So next year, we're going to have a new schedule called a block schedule. So as you can see, on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, we have normal schedules. But on Wednesday and Thursday, classes will be extended. But if you know this, we only have 7 classes on normal days and 8 on the special days. Now, you're probably wondering, what is that 8th class? Well, I'm glad you asked, because we decided that the 8th class will be used for CSEP style classes or a challenge class. With this class, we may be able to work on globe during school.
We would like to dedicate this presentation to Lancelot the water bug and Chubbs the snapping turtle. Both are incredible creatures found in Wooster Pond. We would like to thank the BEST committee for giving us a grant to build the weather shelters. The other schools who have shared during these webinars, we have learned something from each of your presentations. Lucas for not breaking anything, Lancelot and Chubbs, Brian, Dorian, and other Globe organizers for organizing Globe, Anna, Lelia, the data master, for keeping the notebook neat, the shovel for always being there, and of course, Mr. Newland for dealing with us at least 2 times a week. And that concludes our presentation.
Man, that was amazing. And I like the SMAP. That's a tongue twister. SMAP shovel shrine. Yeah, I like that because I've been working with the SMAP mission forever. So, but yeah, that's pretty cool that the shovel, you have a shrine to it because it's always there and ready to go. Yeah, I like that.
So I think if there was any questions or things that folks want to know or stuff that we can.
I actually had a question that I popped into the chat so I wouldn't forget it. But during the second to last presentation about the data points, you mentioned the transparency measurements. And I don't know if I heard, but were your water sources near any point of fertilized runoff by any chance? Near a farm field or anything?
They're not.
Okay.
One of the one side of our pond is actually backed up by a small protected woodland, and the other side is total suburban neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
And we haven't yet been able to, although we've talked about tracking exactly where the water in those pipes is coming from. We assume it's the storm drains from the residential neighborhood, but it is not near agricultural land.
Yeah, okay. Great. Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question. I believe you said you were able to also collect some macroinvertebrate data.
We did collect macroinvertebrates, and although we have not truly had time for full ID and counts and things like that, but we got started on that, and I think you guys can speak to this, but I think you saw some things that you weren't expecting to see. That's where Chubbs the turtle came from too.
Oh, neat. Isn't that that's such a fun part of the data collection? I was doing a stream study for Earth Day, and with a bunch of adults, and they liked, doing the transparency and all, but boy, when it came to the macroinvertebrates, they were just having the best time going there in the stream and then trying to key them in. So I just wanted to say I am so impressed. I understand from listening to each of you that some of you are in the drama club, and you certainly have many things that you're doing that have helped you to feel so comfortable and poised in your presentation. But by far, this was just such, you are so amazing, and it was just kind of like you have been rehearsing it for months. You are simply phenomenal. So way to go.
Yeah. Hey, Dorian, can you introduce yourself so they know where you're coming from? That'd be great.
Sure. I'm sorry, I was on the phone before, and so I wasn't allowed. I couldn't see anything. I could only hear and talk. My name's Dorian Janney. I also work for NASA. I support a satellite that measures precipitation globally, and it's called GPM for Global Precipitation Measurement. And then the other hat that I wear is doing a lot of globe things. So I work with Brian in this Globe ENSO campaign, and after listening to people just talk about how they're measuring water quality and the things they're doing, I've now gotten a group of grown-ups interested. They're mostly teachers interested in going out and looking at streams and committing to doing water studies, stream studies 4 times a year. So you guys are an inspiration. Thank you.
So yeah, speaking about inspiration, I'm super excited and proud of you guys for getting, as middle school students to get involved with, bringing it to elementary school. So that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass that info on to the powers that be at Globe to let them know that you guys are doing this, because we don't hear about this as often as we should. And just to hear that, that's amazing. So at some point, perhaps, we might do something featuring you guys that'll go up on the Globe website in regards to that, because we don't hear that often, and it's something I think that needs to get out there, because it shows how selfless you are. You enjoy doing the data collection, you enjoy doing, making sense of the data and understanding it and how it's important to your local environment and your town in Stratford. But you also see how important it is to get others involved, locally and, globally. So hopefully, we'll get the information. Well, we'll get the information. I'll get the information to the folks at Globe and one of a couple leads at NASA who are part of this. So super cool. Anybody else have anything they want to say? So as you know, this has been recorded and it will go up on the Globe website tomorrow. It takes a little bit to process until I get it. I'll get it tomorrow morning, but then I'll put it up there. Mr. Newland, if you want to share your slides with me, you can go ahead and do that if you're comfortable doing that, and I can put those up, underneath the link to the presentation. So I think a lot of people would like that. And then what I'll do is I'll get the info out to the people who post some of the stuff on the top page of Globe, so they can go, watch it, in their leisure time, a little later on. And be able to look at that. And then that may bring in some collaboration. I think so, but you mentioned Mayopac as being an inspiration, but I think you're on already, Mr. Newland, with Bob Connick about on the collaboration part of the Globe website. Are you part of that? The collaboration part of the campaign? They're doing something on water quality.
Yeah, I have been.
Okay, I thought you were on there. Yeah, it's been jumping so quickly. I'm trying to keep track of everybody who's joining the collaboration.
Yeah, it started with 3 or 4, and there's about 20 folks in there now. So.
Yeah. So cool, awesome.
I will share the slides with you. I just ran into a block from my own district about not being able to do that to someone who's outside of our domain, but I know there's a way around that. I will share that.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yep. Yeah. When you figure it out, no worries. We'll get it up there then. Now.
Yeah, and I will also send a similar link to an uneditable version of our data. If people wanna use that.
That's cool. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, man, if everybody was prepared as you guys are, that's great.
Yeah, thanks. These guys worked really hard. I'm proud of them.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. All right. Does anybody have anything else? Everybody's pretty quiet, but it looks like we have, just so you know, we have some folks from, Switzerland, we have Croatia, we have Puerto Rico, and there's a lot of folks from the United States. So super excited to see everybody here. And I believe maybe Peru. I'm trying to match the names to who I know. So yeah.
It's a challenge.
You guys did an amazing job, so we're super excited about that. And you let me pop on my last thing here so I can share, what's next with the soda campaign and the ENSO campaign and soda. But the next, all the way down there. All right, so the next one will actually be next week, and it will be live from Puerto Rico. Hope everybody can join it. It'll be at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And it's going to be two groups presenting from the Ramey School. And Richard Rutger is one of the teachers. He's on the webinar right now. But he will have students, and another teacher will have students, possibly his wife. I'm not sure. But so there will be two groups, and it's basically they've been measuring water quality after Hurricane Maria devastated Puerto Rico. So one is evaluating bacteria levels in filtered water after Hurricane Maria devastated Puerto Rico. And that will be team waterbenders doing that. And then there will be improving the drinking water quality after Hurricane Maria using natural resources. And that's team Aquarico or Aquarico. I'm not sure how they want to pronounce that. But that is next Wednesday, May 2nd at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. UTC. And it's at the same location, the same Zoom. And then we have on Thursday, May 10th, we have our communication and connections webinar, and Dorian is leading that. And that is at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 1600 or 4 o'clock p.m. UTC, and that's North meets South. We will have students from the United States, and I know you mentioned Mr. Jeff Bauman from Shumway Middle School. He'll be presenting, and then we also have some schools in South America that will be presenting, so that's why it's North meets South. So, yeah, so they're going to be discussing some collaborations and some things they were doing in using these guiding investigative questions to measure things related, using the Globe protocols for the ENSO campaign. So I hope you guys can, check at least one or two of these out. So with that, if nobody else has any questions, I'll pause for a second for any questions, any further questions, comments. All right, so it's pretty quiet. I don't know if anybody's trying to talk, but I don't hear anybody talking. So I'm going to stop the recording right now.